Kasama ng Beat Podcast, starring your host, Jet Marco A. Montes Claros, and our co-host, Jasper Klein T. Powell. Kasama ng Beat!
Welcome to our newest episode of our Dishamwala Kasama ng Beat podcast. And today, what actually is the topic we're going to talk about today, bro?
I heard something rumors
About
market integration.
I hear it's a pretty big thing that needs to be talked about right now.
Yes.
Yeah, so without further ado, we're here to introduce three esteemed researchers from Caltech University, and their reputation precedes them. Please welcome the Powerpuff Girls. Which
Hi guys!
Yes.
Hi everyone!
Miss Charlene, Miss Crisel, and Miss Neri. How are you, man? How are you?
How are you?
How are you?
So, how's your flight?
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Do you enjoy trip? Do you want some like destination here?
Yeah, we visit yesterday a lot. Visit some places yesterday. It was amazing place.
So you've had some few days from sightseeing. That's amazing. That's actually amazing. Yeah, because I'm sure you know that we've called you here today. We've invited you actually to talk about the market integration, which very fascinated the both of us because we didn't know that you're actually gonna accept the invitation. So how are you feeling right now?
It was a pleasure because we want to impart some knowledge about this topic too.
Hey, didn't you want to question them of where they actually came from? Like, didn't you have that question?
Yes, I have. I prepared a lot of questions for them.
That's what's up.
So, are you ready?
Yes, definitely.
The first few questions we've actually structured around the very study that you did yourselves, and I was kind of hoping that you would give some insight about it. Is that alright?
Yes.
Okay, so the first question would be, hey, here you go, man. You can ask the question.
I'm gonna ask the question.
Okay.
So, here's our first question. What do you mean by market integration? Can any of you shed some light on what it is?
Well, good morning, Mr. Klein. I would like to thank you for inviting me here. We're kind of feeling nervous because this is our first time here, and this environment is new to us and not to our usual environment. So to answer your question, Mr. Klein, market integration is an integration that shows the relationship of the firm in the market. The extent of integration influences the conduct of the firms and consequently their marketing efficiency. And the markets differ in the extent of integration, and therefore there is a variation in their degree of efficiency.
Quite a fascinating information. That's actually pretty good. Yeah, this is new information for me, and I gotta say I'm very enlightened to know about this type of new information because I'm very clueless myself. So I would like to ask the next one is how real is it? Okay, is it actually significant in our day-to-day lives?
For that question, yes, it is significant. As for example of market integration, are the establishment of wholesaling facilities by food retailers and the setting up of another plant by a milk processor. In each case, there is a concentration of decision making in the hands of a single management.
Oh, wow, pretty good. It's pretty actually good. So it is really important to pursue this, to actually become aware of what it actually is. Do you agree with that take?
Yes.
Pretty good.
And we have some trivia about it.
Oh, really? We would like to hear. Our viewers would like to hear that. Our viewers would like to hear that.
Me too.
So what was the first trivia?
Well, for the trivia, as economic integration can reduce the cost of the trade, improve the ability of the goods and services, and also increase consumer purchasing power in any member nations. And for the next trivia, can you please?
And another trivia about that is the employment opportunities tend to improve because trade liberalization leads to market expansion, technology sharing, and cross-border investment.
Wow. It's actually pretty good. So, folks, if that's not trivia to you, I don't know what to tell you, alright? It's actually pretty good trivia, and you're gonna watch this podcast again if we release it on air, and you can actually take notes of this because it's actually pretty important to talk about, especially if you have a paper to do. And I would very much recommend it to share with your friends, and we would like that very much.
And this question is one of the most important career-wise is worth pursuing.
Oh yes, it is indeed. Without market integration and its organization or union, there is no proper management when it comes to ruling and there is no unity.
Wow.
So, for example, of Unity is actually pretty interesting in pursuing this. You're actually interested from the very start.
Yes.
So, what kind of motivation did this guy drive you to study?
I think if you like something, you always have the determination to pursue it. Yeah.
So you definitely have the passion to do
Yes.
it, especially if because
Absolutely.
doing something out of passion doesn't exactly sound
Yeah.
as exhausting as getting a job for somewhere that you don't enjoy. So this is actually what's a highlight of your careers, a highlight of your lives. That's actually pretty interesting to know. Yeah, wouldn't you agree, man? This is really interesting.
Yes, I'm definitely agree because this is the first time that I hear that some of answer with them. So yeah.
Yeah. So moving on to the World Bank, because I'm quite shady of what that is. Okay. So but before we move on to the World Bank, I want to talk about investments. Okay. So any business or any individual that's looking to more earn more income and build wealth have to come across at some point in investment. So here's my question: is it important for any financial institution to be involved in any investments?
Yes, definitely. A financial institution is a company engaged in the business of dealing with financial and monetary transactions, such as deposits, loans, investments, and currency exchange. Financial institutions encompass a broad range of business operations within the financial services sectors, including banks, trust companies, insurance companies, firms, and investment dealers.
Wow. You hear that, folks? Investments. It's very important if you're trying to build if you're trying
Wait
to
further. Do you have an investment
actually I actually got this from a stock which makes you small part ownership with all the designer brands.
Yes.
So it's actually a pretty good investment to do it, because if they earn, then you earn a little bit as well, especially if a lot of people consume a certain product. So
Yes, that's right.
investing actually is important if you're building a wealth. And since a lot of our younger viewers here today are actually aspiring to become millionaires by the age of 30, you're gonna want to listen to this one, because investments is important in earning wealth. You gotta remember that. So now we move on to the World Bank kind of things. These are countries and governments involved together to improve their infrastructures or anything that can make their country great. So
I'm the one
here's
gonna
the
ask
question
them.
is about to
So here's the fifth question. Is there a limit in how much loan a country can ask from the World Bank?
Yes. Well, let me first define what World Bank is. The World Bank is an international development organization that is owned by 187 countries, and also its role is to reduce poverty by lending money to the governments of its poor members to improve their economies and to improve the standard of the lives of the people in their country.
And also, did you know that the bank is also one of the world's largest research centers and development? It has specialized departments that use this knowledge to advise countries in areas like health, education, nutrition, finance, justice, law, and the environment. Another part of the bank, the World Bank Institute, offers training to government and other officials in the world through local research and teaching institutions.
wow. So it's actually acts as a treasury of some kind, because this is where most countries trying to get permission to better their infrastructures, their governments, and get the money to do so. If I could relate that to our country right now, is it a good status in our country to have so much debt that future generations are stuck in paying for it? Is it bad or is it good in some way? Because in my own opinion, it's actually pretty bad, because I didn't want this to happen, and then I don't want to pay for someone's bad decisions. You know what I'm talking about? Because it's not a very good example, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I understand too, my partner.
Yeah. So
So,
for in the event when coming back to one of the most tragic events of human history. I'm pretty sure all of us know here about the Second World War, right? One of the most like horrible tragedies that ever befallen this world, this
But
planet of ours.
but first, I would like to answer the question earlier.
Oh, sure.
Is there a limit in how much loan a country?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
I would like to answer that. The bank lends money to middle-income countries at interest rates lower than the rates on loans from commercial banks. In addition, the bank lends money at no interest to the poorest developing countries, those that often cannot find other sources of loans. Countries that borrow from the bank also have a much longer period to repay their loans than commercial banks allow and don't have to restart repaying for several years.
For several years. So that exactly highlights the current status of some countries right now, especially the underdeveloped countries, which is very struggling with their economy. So being the World Bank there as an option, I think helps, but it also comes with a lot of tragic consequences if it's not dealt with at a certain point in time. So if I can go back to my next question, one of the tragic moments of human history, which is the Second World War, which harbored millions of casualties worldwide and so many unspeakable atrocities, and up until now those it lasts an effect to us, especially in most demographics, some what do you call it, defamations, discriminations or whatnot. It does still linger to this day. Now, in terms of in an economic perspective, how did the Second World War affect the economy and trade of the Allied nations?
Well, the Second World War effect has really brought wide tragedy
Yes, it did.
in our economy, because it affects the world economy again, because as we all know, globalization existed even before the events of the Second World War. And the Second World War happened, the globalization was halted. The union, the trust, and the trading were either broken and non-existent, and the progress of the world up until that point was reversed, and except the US because they have an autarky.
Okay. It's actually pretty interesting now, because it's not a very good. It's not a very. It's a very controversial topic to talk about, which actually was right in that order. Because in the perspective of economy wise, it was actually the benefits of the U.S. because they were like manufacturing weapons. They were like holding most of the Allied nations. Plans, and they were spearheaded in most battles especially in our side of the country, which is the Pacific Theater. So that's actually pretty interesting to know that the actual tragedy has an impact to our way of life. So what about the next question, man? How do you?
So partner, before we proceed,
Of course.
I think this podcast is getting heating up, so we need to.
Yeah. We need to take a break right now, folks,
Yes.
because we got a few words from our sponsors right now, and we appreciate it. We're gonna get back to it.
We're gonna
We'll
show
see you
you
guys later. Peace out.
Naninikip ba ang iyong dibdib at nahihirapan ka huminga? Sa parting masakit ay ipahid, fast action ng epekto at rapid. Yan ang Sid Panyawa Herbal Oil.
Ako po si Isagani. Noong mga nakaraang buwan po ay naninikip ang aking dibdib at nahihirapan po ako sa paghinga. Pero nung ginamit ko po ang Sid Panyawa Herbal Oil, talagang lumuwag po ang aking paghinga at gumawa ng aking pakiramdam.
Dumarami na ang gumagaling sa Sid Panyawa Herbal Oil. Petroleum Sid Panyawa Nisus is the generic name of Sid Panyawa Herbal Oil. If symptoms persist, consult your doctor.
Welcome back. For this portion, we're going to ask you a question that came from the viewers.
We've actually narrowed it down with a few questions, and this actually was a random pick with a random viewers, and we created a poll on Twitter last week. So now we're gonna narrow it down to these fine ladies right here with 3 questions left, and they're gonna answer it with their full capabilities. And the first question from
Jeremy Garcia, how exactly does independent states govern on monetary relations?
So for that question, the Bretton Woods system was the first example of a fully negotiated monetary order intended to govern monetary relations among independent states.
And also, the Bretton Woods system is a set of unified rules and policies that provided the framework necessary to create fixed international currency exchange rates. Essentially, the agreement called for the newly created IMF to determine the fixed rate of exchange for currencies around the world.
So in other words, they're actually involved in international deals, international connections with systems in place that connects them with any countries that are involved. Oh, that's actually pretty neat, man. That's good, very good. So the next question from Darlin. It's actually a pretty good name. From Darlin, has the IMF been effective in promoting a high employment rate in the 190 countries that are involved?
Well, yes, the IMF provides technical assistance and training to help member countries build better economic institutions and strengthen related human capacities. And for Shirley?
And also this includes, for example, designing and implementing more effective policies for taxation and administration, expenditure management, monetary and exchange rate policies, banking and financial system supervision and regulation, legislative frameworks, and economic statistics.
So it's actually pretty amazing that they've actually thought this type of systems in place, and yet almost not everybody has no idea of how it works, and it just fascinates me to my core that this actually exists, that can be explained to not just to us, man, but to our viewers as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very helpful indeed. So the ninth question, is that the ninth question?
Yes, this is
Yeah,
the
the
ninth.
ninth question, everybody.
The ninth question is from Moshido. Can you say that the organization involved and their systems are effective in the modern society?
Yes, we agree. Yes, because organizations are important components of social and physical environments, and they exert considerable influence over the choices people make. The resources they have to aid them in those choices, and the factors in the workplace that could influence health status, work overload, exposure to toxic chemicals.
So it actually has a very much known impact. Like people from generations around is gonna notice the change, and that is actually that is actually important, because some people like to look at statistics and the history behind something, that they have something to be to base upon, and the fact that we have these records and that you guys are studying it are actual proof that is gonna be studied for generations to come, which is fascinating in its own right. And the last question would be from Jersey Francis. That's quite a name you got there, man. So the EU, or the European Union, is the largest domestic market and the domestic market in the developed world, and this is soon to be surpassed by China. Why is that so?
No, because it is the third largest economy in the world and nominal terms after the United States and China, and the third one in purchasing power parity, or PPP terms, after China and the United States.
So China is not gonna overtake the EU anytime soon. So the study was also being in the favor of different people. But since you guys have shed some light on this, it is actually very clear that they are competing for who's gonna be number one.
Yes.
But China is nowhere near surpassing any one of them. So that's just to confirm it. Okay, so thank you for coming, guys.
It's a pleasure.
It's a very informative episode.
Thank you so much.
For each and one of us, to our viewers as well.
Yeah,
alright?
we learned
Thank
a lot.
you. Yeah, really
And
learned a lot. And
about market integration.
thank you
That's
for
so nice.
participating with the questions, and I hope you guys learned a lot today, because they've actually had something to offer here. And if you want to check out the podcast, we can air it out next week. And then that concludes it.